News. It's good to have you with us. Our first story, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed yesterday met and conferred with the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Slovenia, Tanja Fajon. During their meeting, the two dwelt at length on issues pertaining to Ethio-Slovenia bilateral relations. The Slovene Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister paid an official working visit in Addis Ababa and has also met with several high official government officials in Ethiopia. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is expected to pay a two-day official visit to Ethiopia on Friday and Saturday, according to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The visit is aimed at deepening the partnership between the two countries, as Italy is one of Ethiopia's main development partners, it was indicated. During her stay, the Prime Minister will meet with high-level government officials from Ethiopia and the African Union. The Ministry of Women and Social Affairs launched a nationwide anti-drug movement yesterday. The movement is aimed at creating a productive and healthy generation across the country. Tigasser Nessa has the following account.
Ministry of Women and Social Affairs has launched a national anti-drug movement with the objective of creating a productive and healthy generation. Collaborative and organized efforts with all stakeholders across the country in a sustainable manner were mentioned as a critical tool to realize the anti-drug movement. Launching the movement, Minister of Women and Social Affairs Ergoge Tesfaye noted that the youth have the potential to hugely contribute to the nation's inclusive growth ambition.
From our total population, the youth takes up a relatively high in number, which this high figure can contribute hugely to the overall country's growth, for they are expected to be brighter, creative, and also with massive potential.
The ministry highlighted from 40.1 million total youth population in Ethiopia, 4.4% cigarette and 45.6% are alcohol addicted due to mushrooming number of clubhouses, bad influence from public figures, and also legal gaps were among the reasons, according to a research tabled during the event. However, the minister stressed that if youth can't be drug-free and disciplined, it will be so damaging for the youth themselves as well as the society and the nation at large.
But if it comes as possible to build up our youth personality off of discipline and moral license, it will create just the opposite, easily influenced individuals. So we have to table this, paying higher emphasis as possible.
To have a healthy and productive generation across the country, organized and collaborative actions by all concerned actors need to be urgently applied, the minister pointed out. The national movement will be carried out across the country for 12 months. Senior government officials, regional state representatives, scholars, civil society organizations, heads of youth and women affairs, and among others, have attended the event.
Welcome back. An Ethiopian delegation led by Finance Minister Ahmed Shide is taking part in the 2023 World Bank IMF spring meetings being held in Washington, D.C. The Finance Minister attended the IMF Group of 24 or G24 conferences to discuss efforts of securing sustainable and inclusive growth amidst emerging challenges. During the event, World Bank Group President David Malpass emphasized the importance of concessional resources and the challenge of capital flowing away from development to fund advanced economies. Kristalina Georgieva, Managing Director of IMF, stressed the need for an urgent, globally coordinated measure to address the aforementioned challenges and reclaim a more economically stable and peaceful world, as per the Ethiopian Embassy in Washington, D.C. Some lower riparian countries are wasting their precious time and resources criticizing Ethiopia only because it opted to utilize its own natural resources, aiming to alleviate socio-economic complications. A lecturer at Addis Ababa University said the media institutions, as well as other stakeholders' participation in water diplomacy, are crucial to speak Ethiopia's truth about water use to the world. The lecturer told the Ethiopian news agency that Ethiopia must galvanize the support of professionals to deflect negative propaganda from some of the lower riparian countries. Gosho Melso takes it from here.
Some external forces have created agenda and carried out extensive campaigns to influence the attitude of others and build a negative image of Ethiopia's position in the realization of GERD. Talking to Ethiopian news agency lecturer at Addis Ababa Science and Technology University, Tashoma Barra said Ethiopia needs to intensify digital diplomacy to reverse coordinated attack of low riparian countries on GERD.
The face-to-face diplomacy is declining and digital diplomacy is governing the world. So, I believe that we need to work a great job in this field. We must shape and manage our own agendas. We need to involve Ethiopian diasporas, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and universities to convey quality messages. There are university scholars who have deep knowledge in this matter. We have to play our own big role by involving them.
Teshome underlined that this has to start from the grassroots and students should know the fact about Ethiopia's rivers from their childhood.
The next generation must know the truth about Abai River from childhood to reverse some false narratives that block the way to equitable water utilization. We have to pass on the role played by this generation to the coming generation by realizing the grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam in the field of development.
The lecturer underscored that curricula which covers Ethiopia's water rights and other facts should be designed and taught in schools from the bottom.
The Ministry of Health high-level delegation led by Minister Liat Haddesa visited Tigray State to observe the status of health infrastructures, provide needed health materials, and discuss rehabilitation issues with the region's interim administration authorities. The health minister made her first trip to the region since the peace agreement signed between the federal government and TPLF. Two groups from the delegation visited hospitals and health centers that are providing services currently and the ones affected during the conflict.
Hello viewers and welcome to our ETV special program about the biblical history of this week before the crucifixion of Jesus Christ.
Close us. He was crucified in order so that we may not suffer anymore.
The symbol of cross before the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and after.
I understand why they have come to call that day as a Good Friday.
What kind of lessons shall we take from the deeds of Jesus Christ on Friday?
Books from the prophets, especially those prophetical verses or texts, will be read in the church.
Could you please tell us major church activities?
We are born and we are living to live the life of God.
The day after tomorrow, they are going to mark a big holiday.
Yes, a number of things could happen when we live as human in the nation, in our own political ideology, the way how we framed ourselves.
The Ministry of Water and Energy says the construction of the GERD has reached 91% in line with the government's goal of accelerating the dam for Ethiopia's brighter future. Talking to ETV, Minister of Water and Energy Habtamu Ittefa underlined that Ethiopians have pinned their hopes to snap out of centuries of poverty through the mega dam. Kasan Jani reports.
Ethiopians have been working tirelessly to play the unprecedented role in the realization of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam GERD project. Talking to ETV English, Minister of Water and Energy Habtamu Ittefa said the overall construction performance of GERD has reached 91%. After the massive political reform in Ethiopia, corrective measures have been taken by the government in order to speed up the construction of the flagship project.
After the reform, the last 5 years, the first priority given by the government was to fix the problem and then make things done. And what we achieved today is the basic for the reform that has been done to fix the problem and then make rearrangements for transparent and open project implementation system. That is why we say 91% is done now. Not in a simple way, but in series of challenge and abnormal conditions, what we have passed through.
The minister at the UN Water Conference that was held in March 2023 brought a significant chance for Ethiopia to accelerate the construction of GERD as a water-town nation of Africa.
We try to share our clear stand, what we talk about transboundary waters, because Ethiopia is having a lot of issue on our transboundary waters that we are going to go for development. So our clear stand for cooperation, for negotiation, and for better life for our people in a shared vision by considering the entire basins, for example, in the Nile basins. We also try to have side events, also, which was successful really. On that side event, the main topic was borderline water development in the neighboring countries, for example. What do we have? Ethiopia and Kenya, Ethiopia and Somalia, Ethiopia and South Sudan, and so on. We have potential of groundwater. Then we can develop so that our people from both sides can get benefited. On that presentation, we had people from World Bank, high-level people, USAID and others also, and ready to support Ethiopia's development.
The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which is the biggest hydropower project in Africa, had the capacity to generate 6,450 megawatt of electricity.
In business, an agreement has been signed to construct an industry park that produces cement, metal, and lime in Dirredwa town. Upon going fully functional or operational, the Malka Jabdu Industrial Park will have the capacity to produce 6,000 tons of cement per day, and it can reduce the scarcity of cement to the domestic market. Shaggao Yamatao has the details.
The National Waste Holdings and the Chinese Construction Engineering Sinopec have signed an agreement to construct industry park in Dirredwa town. The Malka Jabdu Industry Park is aiming to produce cement, metal and lime productions. On the occasion, Minister of Urban and Infrastructure Chaltu Sane said the Malka Jabdu Industrial Park is expected to produce over 6,000 tons of cement per day and is expected to reduce scarcity of cement in the country.
Scarcity of cement and metal imports are among the challenges that hinder the construction sector in the country. Particularly, the price of cement is soaring. We must expand production of inputs of construction and modernizing the trading system to control and stabilize the recent inflation.
State Minister for Mines Milion Matthews, for his part, underscored that the construction of the park costs a total of $540 million, and its construction considers domestic as well as foreign markets.
We have received 106 hectares of land from Dirredwa Town Administration to construct the Malka Jabdu Industrial Park, and it will be built with an outlay of $540 million. We are working with a company that constructed the Lem Industrial Park project, and the factories are deemed profitable as they take into account the local and foreign markets. This means the products of Lem Industrial Park will be fully used for domestic consumption, and the products of the Dirredwa Malka Jabdu Industrial Park will be exported to other African countries.
የሚውሉ ነው።
Upon going fully operational, the park will have the capacity to produce 3 million tons of cement annually. The board chairman of the West International Holdings, Buzwayo Tadala, underlined.
ፓርኩ ሲጠናቀቅ በውስጡ
When the construction of the park is completed, it will have a metal factory that produces 700,000 tons per year, a lime factory that produces 1,000 tons per day, and a cement factory that produces 3 million tons of cement per year.
የሲሚንቶ ፋብሪካ
Chairman of the National West International Holdings, Wang Fan, indicated that the Malka Jebdu Industrial Park will be built like the piece of the National Cement Factory at Lemi Industrial Park. Fan confirmed that the National Cement Factory will be completed at the end of this fiscal year.
The production of construction materials at Lemi Industrial Park, which is being jointly constructed by the National West International Holdings and East African Holding, will be completed at the end of this year. We are working to complete the Malka Jebdu Industrial Park at the same rate and realize the economic and social significance of the park.
The Malka Jebdu Industrial Park, which will be built in Dredwa town, will create permanent and temporary jobs.
We used to have each other's playlists. No. Used to be each other's best friends.
It's Kawi in Burundi. I hope you're doing amazing. Right now, I'm gonna take you on a tour around Bujumbura with Rachel right here. Raquel. Oh my goodness.
Bag of all your things, the memories of when I kissed you. Remember when we used to say to each other, we belong together, me and you forever. Tell me where you been. Used to say to each other, we belong together, me and you forever. Tell me where you been, yeah, since I prayed. 'Cause everything I see still reminds me of you. Bag of all your things, the memories of when I kissed you. Remember when we used to say to each other, we belong together, me and you forever.
Welcome back. Now heading over to Sudan. According to the timeline set up by the country's ruling junta and civilian groups, a new prime minister and other posts should have been announced on Tuesday. Security reforms opposing the military and a powerful paramilitary group are a stumbling block in Sudan. Foreign gender and civilian groups established a civilian-led transitional government. According to an official timeline, the new prime minister and other positions should have been announced Tuesday. However, the deadline lapsed after parties failed twice to sign a final deal over these agreements on the integration of the paramilitary. When the framework agreement was signed in December, the signatories still pledged to reach a consensus and establish a severely led transitional government to lead the country. Now, a recap of the top stories once again before we go. Ethiopia launched a nationwide anti-drug movement. And Sudan fails to meet deadline to form civilian government. That brings today's news hour to the end. Thank you very much for having joined us. It's goodbye from my